Welcome folks to day 1 and build number 1 of Special Projects pack number 16, the first one of 2025 of course, and we're kicking off, as you probably assumed we would, with a build for the Lamborghini Balboni. For those who are unfamiliar with the car, and I feel like most of you are, it's essentially a more driver's fun focused version of a Gallardo rather than like a faster and faster or quicker and quicker lap times kind of version, and of course the biggest difference with the real Balboni is that it's rear-wheel drive. It's named after Lamborghini's test driver, very famous guy, of course, being the LP550 rather than LP560. It's got a little bit less power, and of course the Dash 2 refers to the rear-wheel drive instead. A load of different people have done liveries for these in a variety of different colours. I've shared this particular one, so if you like it, of course, there's a link to it in the description below. But if you want to get a different colour, obviously there's no reason why you shouldn't do that. There's loads of different ones. Now, as far as the build itself, of course, what I'm doing with these replicas is replicating what a standard version of this car should feel like were it added to the game. So just driving it straight out of the box, that's what we always do. However, if we were to have something like a Balboni, you would almost instantly do extra stuff to it. You know, brakes, suspension, power, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to do more than what I've done, then by all means you can. But I set myself a bit of a challenge for this one. I wanted to see, could I make the Gallardo feel like a completely different thing, a rear-wheel drive, less powerful version, but fitting it with the fewest possible parts. So that was my challenge, and spoiler alert, yes, you can. So as far as the actual bits, you want stage 1 weight, and of course with stage 1 that goes way too far, so you will need ballast in a second. As far as the tyres, I've left it with the sports hards, which it already comes on. Of course that's down to you in terms of what you do or don't want to fit. You want the power restrictor and the ballast. That is essential for this build. As far as the semi-racing stuff, I would recommend having the fully customised diff, and in particular the torque vectoring centre diff. If you're not going to do anything else, you need to do the centre diff and the limited slip diff. Those are by far the two most important things for this particular build. For the extreme stuff, we've got nothing there, and for the ultimate stuff, nothing either. So it's actually a pretty cheap build. Obviously the car itself isn't, but the tuning parts are probably among the cheapest of any of the builds that I've done, because what we're replicating is, of course, a fairly simple idea. Now, we've got sports hards fitted already, because, of course, standard suspension. I've got to think this is... I mean, surely that's one of the only times I've ever built a car with standard suspension in this entire series. There's probably been some other one in there somewhere, but not that I can immediately recall. As far as the diff, of course, this is where it's all happening here. Pretty obviously, you want a 595 split in favour of the back end, so of course that's about as close as you can get to being actually rear-wheel drive. And in practice, you don't really feel the 5% on the front anyway. As far as the diff itself, 1010 on the front, 3030 on the back, so kind of reminiscent to my old Maciel RGT build, which is still one of my favourites and one of the ones I'm proudest of. Standard transmission, of course, you want to slightly reduce your power to 98%, because even though the car is called the LP550, it doesn't actually have 550 horsepower. If I recall, that's 550 PS, or Verstärker. So the LP560 doesn't have 560, it's got like 552. So the LP550 has more like 542. So by reducing that even to 98%, you get pretty damn close to that, about as close as you could hope to be without fitting loads of other stuff. So you want 111 kilos of ballast. This is where we will change a little bit from real life, because in real life, the rear-wheel drive version is about, I think it was 30 kilos lighter, if I recall, compared to the four-wheel drive version. But the problem is, the four-wheel drive version here in the game is already lighter than it should be. So rather than making this heavier, just to, make it technically more realistic, you need it to feel accurate in comparison to what's already here, if that makes sense. So instead of replicating the real world weight, we've taken 30 kilos off of the standard weight in the game. So I think you can follow what I'm saying anyway. So 1380, which is a bit less than it should be in real life, but hey. And as far as the weight distribution, we've got 13% toward the rear for that 4357, which again is accurate to real life, and there's literally nothing else there, so it's a really simple build to do. Now, of course, without any further ado, we'll jump out to a circuit and show you what the car can do in practice. Now, spoiler alert for this one, much like the RGT build from way back in the series, it's almost too good, which is actually a testament to how tunable the Gallardo is, because as you just saw, I've barely done anything to it, and if nothing else, this video would be a prime example to show someone of the power of the power of diff tuning and a torque split. We've basically done virtually nothing else, and just with the diff and the torque split, you've totally changed the personality of the car. Of course, the torque split doing most of the work there, but you would think it would immediately become just too tail happy, too slippery, and the Gallardo in Gran Turismo's past in particular is a notoriously difficult car to tune correctly, especially in GT6. Now, this is fantastic. Now, you can drift it if you want to, but it's pretty controlled. The one thing I will say in terms of using it is you need to brake a little bit earlier than in most of my other builds, because obviously we don't have any braking upgrades, and you do need to turn in a bit earlier because it has a bit more understeer. Once you factor that in, within a lap you'll be used to that anyway, because again we're replicating a standard car as if it has just arrived in the game. So for those who love the Balboni, give it a try, see if you like it. If you did want to use it for some competition stuff, it's definitely got the potential in there. So for Balboni fans or for Gallardo fans who wanted to try something different, then I hope you have a lot of fun with it. Of course, stick around for all the other tunes in the rest of the week, including another one later today, and for now, thanks for watching.